All right, folks are filing in from the waiting room. Hello and welcome, everyone. This is our third and final 2026 large grant question and answer session. I am Vander Gack, Northeast SARE's communications person. Today is session is for our four largest grant programs: research and education, research for novel approaches, farming community, and professional development. This session is going to be recorded and it will be made available on our website along with all of the questions and answers. A quick rundown of what the session is going to look like. We're going to start with a brief presentation about all four programs before moving into a generalized Q&A, and then we're going to go into program-specific breakout sessions. You're going to be able to use the breakout rooms tool to move between different ones and ask questions directly of the administrators who will be running the grant programs. You can drop questions in the chat at any time. We can also use the hand raise function. We have a lot of stuff to cover today, so I am going to hand it over now to our large grant programs administrator, Caitlin Cerna.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to get my screen sharing here. So this first part, we're going to just do an overview of the four grant programs. So these four grant programs are what we call the large grants, and what we'll be focused on today: research and education, research for novel approaches, professional development, and farming community. And so today it's going to have three components: that like 15, 20-ish minute overview, which I'm going to just run through right now. And then we'll have time for general questions. You'll meet the grant administrators afterwards. I do want to note that I am going to go quickly through these slides to orient us all. Keep in mind that there is no new information in this presentation. Everything is information that's already in our CFP or our call for proposal. We're just highlighting things and presenting it in a slightly different format. So don't worry about missing information. We will have these slides and recording available, as well as the FAQ log. And so we'll kick off, starting with Northeast SARE. Stands for Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. We're a regional grant program that funds innovative farmer-driven projects to advance sustainable agriculture in the Northeast. We support practical research, education, and outreach initiatives that improve farm profitability, protect natural resources, and strengthen communities. And our region spans, as you see on this map here, from West Virginia to Maine, and that includes Washington, D.C. And by law, Northeast SARE funding and the proposals that it awards must improve farming in at least one of these 6 ways. These are our legislative priorities that you will see in the CFP and that reviewers are looking for in your proposals as connections to one or more of them. So I'm going to just pause here for a sec. Relatively straightforward. The other thing that we are connecting reviewers are looking for in your proposals is the outcome statement. And so we want to know how your proposal will be benefiting farmers in the Northeast. And again, the Northeast is that 12-state region from West Virginia up to Maine. The work that we do and the projects we fund are grounded in this outcome statement, and it's really just the North Star of all of our grant program design, and something that you'll kind of see threaded throughout the CFPs. So now we're going to just transition to the 4 grant programs. While you learn about each of these programs, be thinking about which breakout room you might want to hop into to ask program-specific questions. And again, if you hop in that room and think, I want to check out a different one, you can move between rooms as well. But try to get a feel for what program you're most interested with. And we'll start with the timeline here. There are 2 submission dates depending on which program you are applying for. So the R&D, PDP, and Novel Approach are all due Monday, February 2nd. And then Farming Community is due 3 weeks later on Monday, February 23rd. All of our programs have a very strict 5 p.m. Eastern deadline. And all grant decisions will be made at the same time, which is anticipated to be in about May. I will say Northeast SARE is incredibly communicative of the timeline. If that changes, we get behind or delayed, you will be notified if anything changes in the timeline. So you can, plan accordingly and just kind of hang out and wait for us until May. And there are a few key changes in this year's CFP that we want to highlight. These are listed on page 2 of everyone's CFP, but I'm going to summarize them here. So starting with the shorter timeline, we knew that we would have a shorter timeline, so we tried our best to streamline the proposal questions and the review process to make things as efficient as possible. If you've applied for large grants before, you'll notice that we've eliminated the pre-proposal stage. Applicants are now submitting their full proposal concept in a single application all at once at that February deadline. To further simplify things, you are not required to submit project team verification or IRB and IACUC, which is research requirement documentation at the time of the application. Instead, you're going to read through the description of what is required, and you're going to check a box confirming that you agree to the terms and requirements. And if your proposal is recommended for funding, we will request that information at that time. And then for PDP and R&E projects, we normally require a draft verification tool, which is like a survey or a spreadsheet, some sort of tracking tool. That is also not required with the application submission at this for this year, but same as before, if you are recommended for funding, you will be asked to provide that information. So these documents are normally uploaded and accompany your proposal. You still need to have them ready and understand the importance of them in your project design, but you are not going to upload them with your submission. You just need to wait if you're accepted for funding, and then we'll deal with the paperwork then. And then finally, the review process has changed, which I will go over now. So we made a lot of changes, big improvements in objectivity and transparency this year, and I just want to walk through what that looks like a little bit. So starting off first is the review rubric. You'll find this linked in Appendix D of each program's CFP. This is your roadmap. It really shows you exactly what reviewers are looking for and when they're scoring your proposal. And every rubric begins with what we call comprehensive review. This means your proposal must clearly align with Northeast SARE priorities. And under, using that comprehensive criteria, reviewers are really looking for relevance, innovation, and impact throughout your proposal. And these are defined in the rubric, so you can see exactly how it's being scored and the weight of those things there. And then beyond that, the specific questions that vary by grant program are organized in topic areas, both in the CFP and it matches in the rubric. So the rubric really is your best friend. It's literally the same document reviewers use to score your proposal. There's not a different version. It is what they are trained with to score. So here is how the review process works. Starting with the initial review panels, the independent panels made up of farmers, researchers, nonprofit staff, service providers, they will all score your proposal using that rubric. And reviews are a single blind, and every question plus the overall proposal gets scored based on the criteria that's clearly described in the rubric. Then the top-ranked proposals move on to the oversight review panel, and their job is to make sure that the proposals meet program requirements, that they reflect the organization priorities, and that they comply with eligibility rules. And then finally, the oversight panel recommends a slate of proposals for funding. That slate then goes to Northeast SARE Administrative Council, which then makes the final call for funding decisions. And so each rubric you'll see in Appendix D, here's a little snapshot of one just to show that this has changed also to a 10-point scale. So it's a little bit different, but described in detail for each program. Now let's talk about eligibility. This is the list of who can apply. The list has not changed. We've updated the language to make it a little bit more clear that farmers, farm employees, farming community groups are absolutely eligible. So the list has not changed. If you've been eligible in in last year and whatnot, it's just reworded a little bit. This list includes extensions, colleges, universities, for-profit businesses, which includes consultants and farmers, municipalities, nonprofits, tribal governments, state and federal departments. And an important note is that applicants and host organizations can be located outside of the Northeast region as long as the project activities and the audience it serves are primarily within the Northeast region. And finally, with the launch of our farming community grant last year, we also introduced our technical assistance program. TA is available only for applicants to the Farming Community Grant Program. And if you have questions about that, join the Farming Community Grant breakout room in a few minutes, or you can reach out to their grant administrator, Lance, and who is our technical assistance coordinator. All of our large grants share common features as well, so we'll go through those quickly. First thing in terms of proposal design, Northeast SARE values all ways of knowing and accepts a wide variety of sources of information, which can range from academic research, personal experience, community voices, and other knowledge sources. So research can take many forms in that way as well. So that can include field, lab, social science, you name it. In farming community, the grant is limited to 1 or 2 year projects, and then the other 3 grant programs are typically a 3-year proposal. Every grant requires an advisory committee, and we really encourage authentic engagement with those members. Funding requests should match your project's scope, duration, and outreach plans. And typical award ranges are listed in the CFP for each program, and I will show you in just a second as well. Measurable benefits can be environmental, financial, social. Your work should, as a researcher, follow standard procedures like IRB or IACUC when that's relevant, and mixed method approaches are welcome. Finally, all projects require an annual progress report and a final report at the conclusion of your entire project. So to look at how the programs differ a little bit, each program serves a slightly different audience and funds slightly different types of work. So research into education, R&E, these projects must include a robust farmer education program that leads to measurable on-farm changes. Research can be included, but education is the core and the required part there. Professional development funds education as well, but this program is for service providers who work with farmers. So the goal for those providers to apply what they learn in their work with the farmers that they may be working with. And these 2 programs, R&E and PDP, they require a performance target. So think of this as like the outcome statement you would expect if everything goes according to plan. And then there is novel approaches, which is proof of concept research. Here you're testing new practices with strong potential for farmer adoption. And then finally, farming community is our newest program that we launched last year. It's community focused and centers around farmer leadership. We had over 150 submissions last year, but only 14 were funded. So it is competitive. And we'll go through some of the competitiveness in a second, but don't let that discourage you. We have adjusted and increased the allocation for that grant program. And funding starts at $30,000. And while there's no cap for most programs, the typical ranges are listed here and in the CFP. And so these typical grant ranges are just like what we see on average with submissions. There is no cap or, right or wrong answer there. And all of our programs fund social-based project and various forms of research or education. It's not uncommon that your project concept could be used to apply to several grant programs. Even if your idea fits to more than one program, you really need to tailor your proposal to the specific program you're applying for. It's just like tailoring your resume to the specific job. And based on both the funding available and the increase in proposal submissions, the competitiveness of our programs, it's really been increasing in recent years. This data is from previous year submissions, and it is based on pre-proposal and an invitation process. So there's like a little bit of skewing here in data. But the grant administrators can speak more to that on their breakout rooms if you have more specific questions. And once you've decided to apply, the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you have an account at projects.sare.org. The person who starts the proposal in that system will automatically be listed as the applicant. You can add other team members as editors so they can help with the submission. And all proposals must be submitted through the online system, and late applications will not be accepted. There are no exceptions here. They are time-stamped through the system, so at that 5 p.m. mark, it will not allow you to submit. So we strongly recommend submitting well before the 5 p.m. deadline in case you run into technical issues. You can unsubmit your proposal to make changes at any point prior to the deadline. Just do not forget to resubmit it before the deadline. It's like you're taking the paper off our desk and you need to return it for us to review. So bottom line here, really just give yourself some breathing room and submit as early as you can so that we can help troubleshoot if needed. To start your proposal writing process, my personal suggestion is to take the Word version of the call for proposal and begin drafting answers to part 5, and that's where the proposal questions and instructions begin. Other tips, as I mentioned, really just giving yourself time and starting early so that you can gather and make sure you have all the required documents. Use the rubric as a reference. It really is a roadmap to align with what reviewers are looking for. Try to submit early and call in on friends and colleagues to help proofread your proposal to ensure it's clear to the average reader. Especially with these research-heavy proposals, sometimes it can be challenging to understand if your concept is getting across to the average person. So never underestimate the power of proofreading and build in time to do so. And then don't overlook your budget. Preparing and submitting a clear, accurate budget is a critical part. So this is the instruction page of the budget template and what you will see. The official budget template for our CFPs are linked in the appendix and on our website. This is the only format that we accept. So the budget must be completed in Excel and uploaded as part of your proposal. You cannot upload a PDF or image of a budget. You need to actually upload this Excel type file. You can download and work on it in Google Sheets. And if you need assistance doing that, just reach out. But when you're filling it out, you're going to be only entering information in the white cells. The other cells are color-coded to indicate that they are locked to protect formulas. You want to make sure that you're providing clear, specific line items and justifications for each expense, and you will be prompted of what types of information you need to provide in the justification. You want to avoid vague terms like miscellaneous. And at the bottom of the sheet, your indirect rate cost will calculate by marking the X in the appropriate box. And in general, the template look has changed. We've done our best to simplify and align the budget to our updated Appendix C and included this instruction tab at the bottom to walk you through things. It is a slightly more consolidated template than years past, so you no longer need separate tabs for each year of your project. You're going to enter your total project budget in one sheet. And the guidance on categories and examples of what are allowable and eligible expenses are in Appendix C in the which is linked in the CFP and on our website. And if you are including subawards in your project proposal, remember that each subawardee needs their own budget as well. Finally, just make sure you're reviewing your budget carefully before you upload and that the totals and dollar amounts that are, being calculated in your budget are matching what you're entering into the grant management system. And as we wrap, some final reminders that grant administrators are available to answer questions beyond today's Q&A, so don't hesitate to reach out. As we're getting closer and closer to the due date, keep in mind that grant administrators are already seeing an increase in volume of inquiries. And so we may not be as quick to respond to inquiries as we were earlier in the process, and it's going to just keep compounding. So the earlier you can reach out with questions, the sooner the better. And as a reminder for grant administrators for each program, I manage the research for novel approaches grant program. Heather manages the research and education program. Katie and Nevin manage professional development. And Lance manages farming community. Lance can't be here today, so Emma's going to be facilitating that room instead. And I think we can stop there and yeah, pause to ask if people have any questions broadly before we open the breakout rooms to hop into.
And we've got our first hand, Pandora.
Greetings. I'm wondering, I just learned about the farming communities uh, RFP. Are you allowed to apply for more than one, I guess, opportunity?
You can apply for more than one, but you can only accept one in this funding round of the 4.
So are we going to be, I guess, I don't know. Are you going to, like, if you apply for 2, does that make you lose points or something? Or it's like you can put your hat in both, like,
Yeah, you
and
can put your hat in both. If you were a top ranked proposal, like suggested for funding in both of them, we would reach out and ask which proposal you would like to move forward with.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
Heather, go ahead.
You're
Hello. I have a question.
Go ahead.
So for the technical advisor, does it have to be, so if I have someone in the university to collaborate with, does it have to be in the northeastern area, or I can find someone that can do the work outside the region?
The activities and impact have to be in the Northeast. So if you're collaborating with somebody outside of the Northeast, that's okay, as long as the activities and impact to farmers is happening in the Northeast. And that can really take a lot of different shapes depending on your project concept. So if you hop in a specific room, a grant administrator should be able to help tease that out for you with more details.
Yes, a recording, and this is the first time I call in. So for Maryland, who should I contact for the question?
If you hop in any of the breakout rooms, the grant administrator should be able to help you. And
Oh,
if you
okay.
just need a general contact, you're welcome to reach out to me.
So for the break room, which one? How should I go? I don't. How are you gonna put me somewhere? I want to apply for the first one, the research and education. That one. I'm thinking about put 2 proposals there.
Okay. Let me get to these other questions really quick. Make sure everybody has what
Oh,
they
okay.
need before we open the breakout rooms.
Okay, I
So
thought it was already.
yeah, just if you have questions that you need answered about the general, like Northeast SARE, all of the programs, or questions to make sure you are going into the right breakout room, now's the time to do that. So I think in my queue, I have Stephanie next.
Hi. So I just had a question with applying for multiple of these programs. If I had 2 separate projects that we were trying to do, I know you said that you would have to choose one. Even if it was 2 separate projects, would you still choose one?
If there are two completely different project concepts,
Yeah.
you could apply to more than one program.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. What do we got? Allison next.
Oh, hello.
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, my name's Lisa, and I was wondering what percentage of the grant can be utilized for salaries?
There's no restriction on that.
Is there a recommended amount?
No, there isn't. For budgetary questions like that, the best I can really tell you is just that really be thinking about the scope of your project and the amount you're asking. So if it's a low impact project that's only maybe a year, 95% of your budget going to salary might not feel as feasible. It's just a little bit of a like contextual game of what is the impact and what are you actually asking for. But there is no limit, and it's not looked upon poorly for having living wages and things like that. We talk about that in the CFP for recommended to pay folks that are involved in providing substantial, knowledge or time to your programs. So look through that in the CFP and the Appendix C.
And then what portion of the grant can be for like purchase of equipment?
There's no ratios of how you need to distribute your funding in the budget that you're supplying.
And can you utilize used equipment? I mean, can you purchase used equipment?
Equipment is a little bit trickier, so I would say ask the grant administrator in your breakout room. And I want to move on to the next person. The breakout rooms are going to be really, really helpful. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I want to just try to get folks in there. So let me hop to Amelia next, please.
Hello, thank you. This question is to help me decide what breakout room to go to. And I know you have guidance for this, but what is considered a novel approach? So if it's like deciding between the research and education of like working on something with farmers to make it work for them, maybe a research component versus like actually researching the practice to make sure it will work for farmers. Yeah, that's broadly kind of what I'm thinking about.
Yes. Yeah. The latter is novel approach. So proof of concept is novel approach. Research and education, you want to go there if education is really a core part of your program.
Okay. Thank you.
And Margaret. Yeah, no problem.
Hi, thanks for doing this and for answering my question in the chat. I have two budget questions. I'm curious about whether you all ever partially fund projects or whether you're deciding yes or no on the project and the budget as submitted. And my second question, do you want to answer first?
Yeah, might as well. So we have historically not done partial awards, but that isn't to say it's not going to happen in the future. The competitiveness of the programs are all changing. We're changing our processes a little bit. But yeah, historically we have not, and historically, it just hasn't made sense based on how the grant allocations have shaken out. So yeah, let me pause there and get your next budget question.
Thank you. My next question has to do with an area of our budget where we're feeling some uncertainty. We are intending to create some kind of an educational product, but we're not sure whether that will be in written form or whether it might be a video or videos. And we would like to include some money either for a graphic designer in the case of something that's written, or a videographer in the case of a video. Can we give you an estimate with some support for the number we come up with, but have some uncertainty about which of those routes we're going to go to, and have you all feel like we've given you enough, budget justification?
Yeah, it's a tricky question because there's not that level of specificity in the rubrics of how the budgets are being reviewed. If you feel that you can explain and justify that and you think the impact is going to be the same, I think many reviewers would be okay with that. But it's easy to get convoluted and like start to have webs happening when you're writing your proposals and trying to connect it to all the pieces. So yeah, I can't really speak much more to that.
Okay, but that's helpful to keep clarity in mind.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to open these breakout rooms. I know there's other hands up. Vander is going to be able to stay back a minute and can help answer some questions, but let me open the rooms and you should be able to hop between from here.